I think what Steve Kerr said is exactly right. I mean, the Warriors' offense was operating at essentially peak capacity without Boogie, and the offense has operated at the same capacity with Boogie. What has improved is their defense, and that's not because Boogie is some defensive force. It's because the team has had a new reason to engage. They've had a new reason to give their full focus. And when the Warriors are healthy and give their full focus, even without Boogie Cousins, no one's touching them. And so Steve Kerr has it exactly right. This time of the year, it's before the playoff push, but it's after the beginning of the season, pre-All-Star break, is the time when the Warriors can lose focus. And now they're not, because they have to get Boogie involved, because they want the world to see that they can seamlessly integrate him. And the other thing Boogie Cousins gives them is insurance. That if somebody does go down, that a thin team is not that thin anymore, because you have another superstar that can just increase his usage rate. So, yeah, he gives them a margin of error, and he gives them motivation, and that's all the Warriors, the most talented team ever put together, have ever needed.
The Warriors, there's several phases. What they do are very, very special. Their overall ball movement, very, very special. Their spacing, because the pressure they put, because of the phenomenal shooters that they have, it's one of a kind. And when they want to play in defense, they're the best in the league. Like when they set their mind to it. So yes, Boogie coming back, it gives them a different set of intensity, gives them a different set of goals, game in and game out. And when you've been playing as many playoff games, as many championships that they've won over the last 4 years, you need a little restart like this. It helps out organization. There is a lull period in the NBA. About 2 weeks before the All-Star break, the games get a little more physical. Guys start getting a little more tired. They start getting a little chippy. You start seeing technical fouls, start seeing guys thrown out of games. The Warriors needed this. In this run that they've been on, they need a couple little things, and they've gotten that. Boogie Cousins, besides Clay, he's a better basketball player than anyone the Warriors have had. So now they got KD.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about
outside of
all
Steph?
The players they've had in this championship run, outside of Steph and KD.
Okay, there you go. Gotcha. I understand what you're saying.
Boogie is a beast. They're doing pick and roll with Boogie. All right, so now Steph decides do I go to the hole or do I throw it out to a 6'10 guy shooting a 28-footer? They've never had that type of option. And Boogie brings a type of intensity that I believe it's going to help Draymond. Because Draymond is typically the guy that brings the energy game in and game out. So this is what I thought it was going to be. Boogie's a special player.
And it should be noted that let's look at the 14 games before Boogie came back. The Warriors had hit their stride. They were 13-1, and they were outscoring opponents by 16 points per game. In the 5 games with Boogie, they're 5-0 and outscoring opponents by 16 points per game. And this is why I had one of my friends in NBA front office guys, when the Warriors got Boogie, said, I think, Nick, you're way overreacting. Because when the news came out, I went on Twitter and I was upset. Let's call it that.
Okay.
And he said, he made the point, their offense can't get better, and he's going to hurt their defense. So how does he make them better? And the point I made was the Warriors didn't need to get better to win another title. They just needed to avoid catastrophe. And if Boogie is nothing other than the world's greatest insurance policy, right? That if someone does go down. Because you had talked last year that you thought that even with Steph, Clay, and KD, how great they were together, if one of them went down, that the team could get got because they didn't have enough depth.
Yes.
Now, that's no longer the case. With a healthy Boogie Cousins, if something were to happen to KD, and it's like, okay, we have the Splash Brothers plus Boogie, that is more than enough. And the fact that it gives them in late January, early February, added motivation to continue refining things, not throw games away, to where they are going to be the 1 seed this year, unlike last year, all those things work.
And I do believe they get better offensively. Well, how do they get better? They have less lost possessions, because they got another guy that's a focal point that they can go to. They got a 6'10 guy that can shoot 3-pointers with the greatest collection of shooters that we've ever seen. Don't tell me they can't get better. What I'm watching is a better version of the Warriors than we've ever seen.
I was going to ask that. So if it was a conclusion before that they were most likely going to go to the finals, is it a foregone conclusion? They've got this thing won now with this team playing the way they're playing?
This is why the most interesting discussion of the 2018-2019 NBA season has been surrounding the 2019-2020 NBA season. And where Kevin Durant's going to go. Is Anthony Davis going to get traded? How happy is Kyrie? What's the LeBron team going to look like? Because talking about the games right now, the playoffs will be fun, in theory. And it's nice to see what Milwaukee's doing, Toronto with Kawhi. Like, we can find things. But we know what the last page of the book reads. It reads the Warriors winning their 3rd straight title. My reaction to all of this is it is less likely today than it was yesterday that Anthony Davis is traded before the deadline. But I don't think people should dismiss it as a possibility. I think it is incredibly likely, overwhelmingly likely, that traded or not, Anthony Davis has played his last game as a Pelican. Because if they know they're moving on from him and he has an injury history and they are incentivized to lose games, that you edit him out of the video. He's not on the bench the entirety of the game. He leaves the bench area a little bit early, and they have decided to move on from him, even if he remains on the roster. But people, when they're evaluating this, and we talked about this a little bit before the show, they need to recognize the odd ownership general manager situation in New Orleans. Dell Demps is the GM. He's a basketball guy. Dell Demps reports to Mickey Loomis. See, who's Mickey Loomis?
Oh, he runs the operation for the New Orleans Saints. That's right. Sean Payton's right-hand man and has been in football, and that's how he cut his teeth. Now, the Benson family, they own both franchises.
And what happened with the Benson family, unfortunately, 9-10 months ago? The patriarch of the family passed away.
Yes.
Gail Benson takes over. There was a real family rift prior
with
the daughter and the granddaughter, and accosting the grandmother in public once, and then being written out of the will. And so here's why I bring this up. Gail Benson had a very interesting quote before Anthony Davis made his trade demand, which was, "I really like Anthony, but if he wants to leave, you can't hold him back," end quote. And I say that to say this. If Gail Benson says she's at some point, if she hasn't already, going to inquire about what the plan is. And if she hears the plan is, we're not going to play him and we're not going to trade him, we're going to wait and see what's out there this summer, it would not shock me if she said, no, you're not. Like, no, we're not going to do is pay this guy another, what does he make, $15 million for the final 30 games of the year to not play, when we can get people here, when we can trade for other players, when we can maybe create some excitement going into next season. But I think Dell Demps, the guy who is in charge of the basketball decisions, his plan is, let's see who wins the Zion lottery. Let's see what the Celtics end up really wanting to offer. But I think Gail Benson is the wild card in all of this.
You mean because maybe the Lakers might even add more, knowing now that they're going to start competing with other teams if they go past the trade deadline?
I think the Lakers have made their best offer. I think they've offered everything, and that Dell Demps knows that offer is going to be there. Their Lakers offer isn't going to get worse, so we might as well wait.
Here's a question. The Pelicans are sort of making Anthony Davis, it appears from the reports, out to be a little bit of the bad guy here by not taking him out of the video and sitting him and all of it. But isn't it in the Pelicans' best interest for them to know that he wants out of New Orleans now? Like, let them see what they can get for him. At least he told the team that. Isn't that better than maybe waiting the extra year, paying him, not making it to the playoffs, and then not getting anything back for him?
I think typically in a divorce, compared to saying, I want divorce, people would much rather go get counseling. But when you tell them, oh, you think you did them a favor by telling them I'm getting ready to leave you. Oh, no. Things getting ready to get hectic. That's the way typically it's worked for all my friends.
Well, and see, and it's one thing to say privately, I'm moving on.
You didn't want this getting out.
There's a reason he got fined $50,000.
Yes.
What the Pelicans don't want is this. Is Anthony Davis on graphics next to LeBron, all the speculation. He could have done what technically, and I don't blame him for not doing this, by the way, what the rules say, which is you can request a trade, but you cannot do it publicly.
Yeah, and I just believe if Mr. Benson, God rest his soul, if he's alive, he does it a little bit different. And the reason why? He's a showman. He's about marketing. He always has been. Dancing on the fields afterwards, all the things. He had the exorcism of all the demons before they won the Super Bowl. He's been a huge part of that community. What happened to Chris Paul, he wouldn't let that happen with Anthony Davis. So I just believe he would go about it a little bit different, even though you still might get the same result. It's in the best interest of the Pelicans to hold on to him as long as possible. regardless of what LeBron wants, regardless of what Clutch Sports wants. It's in their best interest to keep the star player until everyone can participate. And that means Celtics move Kyrie Irving, and let's see what the Celtics and Danny Ainge and everyone's got. Let's see who wins the Zion lottery. Let's see what the Knicks have. That's what's best for the Pelicans moving forward.
Knowing the Lakers offer will still be there.
Right. All right. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.